15 months ago, my life changed forever. After a terrible accident, I spent over a year in a hospital recovering from a coma. During that time, I had no idea what was happening back home, and someone decided to take advantage of my absence. The day I was finally discharged, there was only one place I wanted to go: home. My private lakefront property had been in my family for generations. I couldn't wait to see it again. The drive back felt surreal. For 15 months, I dreamed about sitting on my dock watching the sunset. Nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to see. When I arrived, my private entrance gate was gone. In its place stood a massive resort sign. It read, "Willow Beach Resort Private Access." My private lake had somehow become a tourist destination. People were swimming in my lake. Families were renting paddleboards and enjoying beach chairs. Someone had built an entire public recreation area on my property, and nobody had bothered to ask for permission. When I tried to drive through the gate, private security stopped me. They asked whether I had a resort membership card. I told them I owned the lake. They laughed. Moments later, the HOA president arrived. She informed me that the HOA had legally converted the area into a community beach resort. Then she told me that I wasn't allowed inside without membership. That was when I realized just how serious this situation had become. I showed her my property deed, my lake ownership records, and my tax documents. She refused to even look at them. I immediately contacted the county recorder's office. Their records confirmed that nothing had ever changed. I still legally owned every acre of the property. The HOA's claims made absolutely no sense. After spending 15 months fighting for my life, I wasn't about to lose my family's property. Someone had built an entire resort on my land, and they were about to discover they had picked the wrong lake owner. The county recorder's office immediately confirmed my ownership records. My lakefront property had never been sold, transferred, or donated. Every document listed me as the sole legal owner. The HOA had no ownership interest whatsoever. County surveyors arrived the following morning. They carefully measured every property line surrounding the lake. The results were exactly what I expected. The entire beach resort sat on privately owned land. Investigators began searching for construction permits. They wanted to know who authorized the beach development project. Several permit applications raised important legal questions. The investigation quickly expanded. The HOA president claimed the property had been abandoned while I was hospitalized. She believed the HOA could temporarily manage the lakefront area. County officials immediately reminded everyone that private property rights remain in effect regardless of someone's medical condition. Ownership doesn't disappear simply because an owner is absent. Residents were shocked to learn the lake was privately owned. Many had honestly believed the HOA legally controlled the property. They had paid membership fees in good faith. No one expected the truth to be this surprising. My attorney reviewed every document connected to the development project. His conclusion was straightforward. The HOA had never possessed legal authority to develop privately owned land. The county records were impossible to dispute. County commissioners examined photographs of the resort facilities, beach chairs, rental equipment, wooden docks, and parking areas. Everything had been constructed on private property. Pending completion of the investigation, county officials temporarily suspended resort operations. No additional construction would be permitted. Public access was temporarily restricted. Property ownership had to be legally resolved first. Visitors cooperated respectfully once they learned the situation. Most were surprised to discover the lake belonged to a private landowner. No one blamed the residents. Everyone simply wanted the truth. The HOA board called an emergency meeting that evening. Several members admitted they assumed the lake had become community property during my absence. That assumption would prove to be their biggest mistake. Legal ownership doesn't work that way. Financial investigators began reviewing HOA records related to the beach resort. Membership fees and operational expenses were carefully documented. County officials wanted complete transparency regarding the project. Every financial transaction mattered. Residents demanded answers from HOA leadership. Many felt they had been misinformed about the ownership of the lake. Trust in the HOA board continued to decline. The community deserved honest leadership. County attorneys presented certified ownership records before the commissioners. The documents conclusively established my ownership of the lake and surrounding land. There was absolutely no legal ambiguity. The facts spoke for themselves. For the first time since returning home, I walked quietly along my private shoreline. This lake had been part of my family's legacy for generations, and I intended to protect it. Something simply cannot be taken away by assumption. After 15 months in a coma, I finally learned what had happened to my property. The HOA had built an entire public beach resort on my private lake. But now, the truth was officially on record, and my fight to reclaim my family's land had only just begun. The county commissioners officially opened hearings regarding the unauthorized development project. Every permit, approval, and construction record was carefully reviewed. The question was no longer who owned the property. It was how the development had been allowed to proceed in the first place. County inspectors spent an entire day documenting the resort facilities. They cataloged every structure that had been added to the property. The development was far larger than anyone had expected. Months of construction had completely transformed my private lakefront. My legal team began discussing possible restoration plans for property. Some improvements could potentially remain if properly negotiated. Others would require removal under county regulations. The final decision would ultimately follow the law and protect everyone's rights. The HOA board finally realized the seriousness of the situation. Several members admitted they had relied on incorrect assumptions during my medical absence. What began as a community project had become a legal and financial nightmare. Their mistakes could no longer be ignored.